Hey guys, thanks for joining us again, if and when you do. But this is Ken O'Neill from Cosmic. Okay, let me get this straight. It's really Cosmic Conversations with K's, me being cute on the YouTube channel, but I realize there's a little typo. So if you're trying to locate us on YouTube by the name, it's actually Cosmic with a K, and then it's KNO versations rather than conversations. A little typo issue there that is not a super duper easy thing to fix, but I will fix it. So I apologize for that. Um, but we'll take care of that later. So here we are. This is going to be session two with Stan Brooks with the headphones on there. And Stan will go ahead and give another quick intro to the purpose of the meditations and the energy work and the background on it. And then we'll proceed and he'll lead us through doing some of that work together. So go ahead, Stan.
Okay, I'm glad that everyone was able to attend. Uh, Basically, what we're doing is that we're having a second session, part two of the GPE seminar. The first session was approximately a month ago, and we covered the basic practice and application primarily. So the purpose for this second session is to get feedback from all students who had a chance to practice so that we can answer questions appropriately. Because again, like everything, if you practice appropriately, okay, in the correct manner, then you'll get good results. If you don't practice correctly, then you won't get, any good results. So the practice is very, very important, as well as following up with questions that you have on your experience with the practice. Also, we wanted to bring in and introduce a couple of spiritual concepts and principles involved with the GPE teaching. But let us start off with a brief meditation. Okay. Okay. Ready? We clear our mind. Begin. All right. Finish. Okay. Now to start off, what we'll do is briefly go over a couple of the sections on the methods of practice that we mentioned at the last seminar. In other words, at the part one, the major topics regarding the practice of the GPE. First of all, we had the meditation, which is comprised of three steps. Okay, we've gone over the first, second, third step. The first one is very concise and direct. You do a three inhale and exhale. Second one is where you keep the eyes open, but you clear the mind to the best of your ability, minimum of 5 minutes, maximum of 30 minutes. Then the third step, you're merely repeating the step one, which is your three inhale and exhale. Do we have any questions on that method of practice? And do we have any feedback from your experiences in practicing the GPE meditation? Anything that you'd like to mention?
I
I,
got,
I've been doing
go
mine
ahead.
with I've been doing mine with my eyes closed. You said we're supposed to have our eyes open when we do it, or did I
Uh,
mishear it?
yes, that should be. I should have mentioned that. If I didn't, it's my bad.
No,
The
it
first
might have
session.
been just my misunderstanding. I've had my
Okay.
eyes closed whenever I do it.
Okay. There is nothing that's missing, but the reason why your eyes will be open is so that when you get familiar with the meditative state, then you'll be able to meditate in your regular routines. Like we normally kind of click into it, but we really don't fully recognize it. So by
Yeah.
not recognize it, we don't develop it. But it is a state of mind. All of us go in and out of the meditative state. You know,
Okay.
you have athletes doing it all the time when they say, "Oh man, I was in the zone. I couldn't even think about what I was going to do. This move just came out of me."
Mhm.
Well, that's a state of meditation. Okay, visualization could be another aspect of meditation. So again, just our basic consciousness experiences the meditative state, but we really don't recognize it, so we don't have the means to develop it. The GPE, the primary purpose is to develop that state of meditation so that it can help you intentionally in various, situations in your life. Okay, particularly now with as much of the stresses of not only with family situations, but also with the workplace, with career. It's coming from all angles, particularly now with the presidency. I don't need to go into any depth of details on that aspect. But a lot of people are on the gun and say, what is our future? What is our future? So there's a lot of stress coming in, particularly, with the foods that we're eating. They're so overly processed. So there's a lot of means of application in terms of the meditative state. When you transfer the energy, which is another topic that we covered, you're in a perfect state of meditation. Whether that state lasts for 5 seconds or for 1 minute, you're in a perfect state of meditation. So even in the act of transferring energy, you're practicing meditation. And what I wanted to really mention, and again, I would like to have had more people come into attendance, is that we would like to start a cohesive group in St. Louis regarding the GPE. Because when Vu Trang, who was the translator and interpreter for the master, he downloaded this system. I believe it was within probably 2020, I believe it is, or 2021. And in the download, it's very concise. So you're getting the HUE method, but in a more abbreviated, concise manner, a more abridged manner. So you don't have to go through all the seminars that we went through. We paid a lot of money in terms of travel, housing, and so forth. Now you guys have it relatively easy. So we just like to mention that so you don't take everything for granted. It's like you're given a diamond. The diamond is covered up with a lot of soot, but unless you practice it and apply it and you remove the soot, then you recognize it truly is a diamond. Okay. So from that aspect, we would like to start a group because in this method of the GPE, you can begin to teach this with only a few months experience. So the more feedback we get from you guys, the more questions from the experiences that you get of practicing, the more feedback we get, the more you'll be able to share when you teach classes. Okay, because now there's a dire need for this type of capability. The meditative state, the state of consciousness, is a very elevated state, and some people are prophesizing that this is the actually vehicle that will actually evolve the human being itself, because everything we do is through our consciousness. Okay? So we can expand our consciousness as well as go into a deeper level of application with our consciousness, then that will have repercussions that's almost unimaginable. Okay? So again, this is not what it perceives to be. There's so much depth with the GPE, but it's hard to recognize unless you practice. I have a funny analogy. Let's say you're with someone who's basically not in physical shape, and you teach them how to do push-ups, okay? And you come back later on, you don't see them until maybe 3 months later, and you ask them, how's your exercise been doing? How's your push-ups? Oh man, I did 75 the month you taught me, and I didn't get much results. So, it's been about 3 months since I practiced it. Then you would scratch your head like Ken just did and say, oh my God, he didn't get the understanding. So just like you have to be consistent and persistent with physical exercise, the same thing with the exercise of consciousness. The major problem is the distractions because consciousness is so subtle. We're so familiar with it. We don't feel like why should I need to exercise my consciousness? This is what you're doing whenever you meditate. You're actually exercising your consciousness. So the abilities will come about from the time that you take in meditation. That's why a lot of meditation masters, they spend years, if not decades, and some of them have healing abilities. Now, with healing abilities, it's very good to understand now is that it is the energy that heals. We're just the medium or the conduit. We're the facilitators, but we don't heal anyone. Okay, that was a big needle in our ego balloon that Master Dan gave us years ago because we got so proud of ourselves. Oh, I helped this person with a brain tumor. We had one Vietnamese student who was actually transferring energy over the telephone. Well, it didn't go through the telephone lines, but he made contact with this person in Vietnam who was suffering from a brain tumor. And he was able to actually, after about a week or so, reduce the tumor. Okay. We've also had many, many miraculous, effects. So we really got caught up in the fact that I have this ability. This ability belongs to me. It does not. It belongs to the universe. If anyone trains themselves appropriately, they will access that capacity just by the training itself. So it doesn't belong to anyone, but when we access this ability, we have accountability and responsibility to use it only for the greater good, never to use it for selfish purposes. Okay, as a matter of fact, with the GPE, there's a perfect safeguard that you cannot use this for selfish purposes. Okay, only use it out of divine love and compassion. So again, going back to the brief review of the first session, okay, we introduced the targets for the energy transfer, which is the planet Earth. We can transfer energy to the planet Earth as many times a day as you feel like, okay, feel it's appropriate. Time frame is 5 to 10 seconds, a maximum of 1 minute. And again, we found out that many students, once they start to practice the GPE, is much different than the first group. It took us longer because this method was so unfamiliar to us. But we noticed from the teaching and the feedback, this is again why it's very important to get feedback from you guys. It takes maybe only 5, 10 seconds to get a warm rush feeling coming back or a tingling sensation, or they may feel pressure on their third eye, okay, which is the indication that the energy sent out has come back. So they stop at that point. When we trained, we used to have maybe a minute to 2 minutes before we feel anything. But as of the last several years, okay, I would say probably the last 5 years or so, students are much quicker. But you should practice that with, with attention and awareness. Also, we mentioned the collective energy transfer that you have with the list of your family and friends. Okay. Again, you just need a minimum of 2 people, but there's no maximum. Okay. And you can include friends, also people that you may meet. Let's say you're walking down the street, you see an elderly person that's having trouble with a walker, or they have a walking cane. And something would just tell you intuitively, I would like to help this person. You don't know the person's name, but you go to your list and just write down lady with elderly lady wearing a pink sweater. Okay, the energy is intelligent. It will know where to go. So you don't necessarily need a name itself, okay, or any other specific information. Okay, emergency energy transfer. Again, if you get injured yourself, you give energy to that. If I, let's say, break my left arm, I send energy to that arm, then I go to the hospital, I get the treatment necessary for it. Same thing with any energy. And again, we've got so much feedback from practicing the emergency energy transfer. Matter of fact, it's from the emergency energy transfer that we gained a lot of confidence that this really works, okay? We've actually been able to bring people from a state of unconscious, people who have fainted, back into, conscious state. Okay, food and beverage is very important. We take this for granted a lot. Okay, we drink and we eat every day. So whether you're eating something, let's say, that you got from fast food or whatever, always send energy to it before you put it into your mouth, really. Okay, if you're preparing a meal, a good thing to do if you're preparing a meal is have the ingredients in front of you, let's say the meat, the vegetables, so forth, send energy to them individually. Then when the meal is cooked and it's finished, and you have everything on the table, and you send energy to the entire table, that will cover all the food. So you can do an energy transfer individually before you cook the food or prepare the food. After it's prepared, then you send energy collectively to all the food on the table. That means anyone who joins you for supper or for dinner will have the same benefit. Now, what this does is that it reduces the toxins from food. As you know, right now, even sometimes our soil is bad. So even when we grow our own food, it can get contaminated simply by the soil itself. And other fact that we have such an abundance of over-processed food is very hard to avoid, very hard to avoid. So we should transfer energy to everything you put in your mouth, be it a piece of candy or a chewing gum. Now, if you have a bottle of vitamins, you send energy to the bottle of vitamins. And that way you don't have to send energy, okay, again, because you already sent energy to the vitamins, the bottle. Okay. For those of you who like to collect water, this is a good experiment that you can use on your own. You can apply on your own. Get a gallon of water from the supermarket, okay? Pour you 2 glasses of water, okay? One you transfer energy to, the other you do not. Taste it yourself and see if you can feel the difference. Another way is also give it to someone else and see if they can detect the difference, okay? Another way is that if you buy, let's say, beef or any type of meat, get you a small section of it, cut it in half. One part of the meat you transfer energy to, the other you do not. Now you can do this on a daily basis, okay? And what we've discovered from that is that the one you send energy to generally lasts longer. It remains fresher than the other, okay? And even in some cases where it may be contaminated, what you're doing with the universal energy, remember the universal energy works on the principle of equilibrium and balance. So what happens is that even if it doesn't remove all the toxins, when you take it into your system, remember your system now is energized. So you will have an effect. What you will do is that you will minimize that effect because of the fact, number one, you are energy practitioner. You're a GPE practitioner, number one. So your system is already energized. Your immune system is working at a higher level. Two is that you transfer energy to the substance that you put it into your mouth, that you're digesting. Okay. So this is a habit you can get into, I think, very readily, because we very rarely skip days without, unless you're fasting, without eating. Okay. And it'll give you plenty of practice as well. Disasters. Let me ask someone right now. We had a tornado. When was it? It may have been the 14th of, I got it on my telephone. We had this major tornado alert. How many of you guys sent energy?
Yeah.
You did. Anybody else? Nikki, you did. Nikki, what was your response? Did you get any feedback?
When I send, I don't get the return like you say. I get a feeling like it's done and it just kind of cuts off. Is that valid? Okay. Yeah, it's like an intuitive, I just know and it's done and
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yes. It's intuitive, but that's actually, in reality, that is the energy speaking to you.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Okay, Ken, what was your reaction?
I couldn't really say that I felt specifically like I felt good about doing it, but that's it. I mean, nothing else that, like a feeling of return or like you said, another version of the return could just be the feeling that it's done. I didn't get anything like that.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I was gonna bring this up earlier. It fits into this. I'm noticing that using this I'll just say this newer protocol, I don't know how much this matters or not, but it's more hit or miss that I even can feel the energy coming in. Sometimes, man, it's blast, it's really strong. Whereas anytime, if I use the older way, let's say with the help of you know what, it's darn near instant every time. I don't know if maybe because I've trained myself so much over the years to use that the other way as such a extra focus tool, and you have that actual visual help because you're looking at you know what, because I know I can't really talk about that. Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just self-entrainment. Like I said, it happens sometimes, but it's not as dependable for me as the older way, which is it's been a long time since it's not happened when I do that. What do you think about
That's a good point to bring up. I'll give you the master's explanation at that point, because a lot of us was worried because we were thinking, oh, I didn't feel a lot, so have I lost some energy? Now, this was his explanation. When your body becomes energized, at first, if your body is low in terms of energy, when you bring in that higher frequency, it has a pronounced effect.
Yeah.
You really feel, we have people, I saw colors, I saw this. So it's really a confirmation. But as your body starts to raise its energetic level, you may feel little or nothing. So as long as your mind is clear, the work is done. That's the positive part of it. Okay. So since you're on this road of not feeling much, that means that's a good sign that your body is increasing its energy threshold.
You know what? That makes even more sense for another reason. What does happen more than it used to happen occasionally, but now it's a little more frequent that I'll be doing something else, even just my separate regular meditation that I do, that's just under an hour, and it'll just come on its own. And I'm not specifically doing that at all. I do keep them separate, just like you said. Or I'm finding something really fascinating. If I can be watching a channeler on YouTube, one of the recognized known people, or somebody like Greer, Dr. Greer, and just be listening and watching to them and feel it come in like big time. So I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah. It really reflects the fact of why when we start up this meditation, the emphasis on the step 2 is to clear and empty your mind. In other words, we want a receptive mind so that we can have the energy come in.
Sure.
Because with our ego, it's like our ego, when we're looking at the outer world, the external world, our ego leads us to interpret because it's based on the 5 senses, right? When we direct the consciousness inward, it's a completely new environment. So we have to actually leave that external sense connection. Okay, we have to just let that go. The more we're able to let that go, the more we'll start to see things and understand things and get messages from the internal world. So we have two because the way the master explained is very basic. He didn't get into spirituality a lot, not specifics. But he says a human being has two parts. We know we have a physical body, that's the physical. But we also have a non-physical self, okay, which some people call the soul, some people call it the energy, the light body, whatever. But we have a part of ourselves, okay, which is not bound by the five senses or the five elements. It's outside. So when we're practicing the GPE or any really form of spirituality, what we're doing is that we're closing that line, that barrier between the physical and the non-physical self, so that we can get rid of the information. Your intuition will start to get clearer, sharper. And a lot of people think that intuition is somewhat superstitious because they don't understand the purpose of it, how it functions. I think of the intuition as sort of like the human mind version of the GPS. It's a guidance system. It's not supposed to make sense. It's to guide you to something that you can analyze, then make sense of, you see. So a lot of times if we have a clear mind, okay, when we get that intuitive sense, it's a download telling us where to pay attention to, what to do, what to say. Once we understand that we got a clear communication with that, even though we will not know what for, when we follow that, then we can understand.
So wait, so you're saying, does that mean you're thinking then that when this is happening, when I'm watching somebody else who's probably a pretty high vibration, that I'm picking that up? You think that's why it's happening?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Because the principle of one, and a lot of people in physics now are correlating this information, they're confirming it, that we exist in a totality. We're not really separate. All of us are interconnected,
Yeah.
interrelated.
Yeah.
So as your intuition, I know you're as your GPE starts to increase, you may actually be able to pick up a thought wave from a person before he actually says it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's actually evolving, helping us evolve to the next level. Okay, so these things will happen. Now in the GPE, they refer to this as the VOS, which means the voice of silence. The VOS. All it really means is that your intuitive capacity, remember we mentioned the intuitive potential, we're unlocking that potential. So your intuitive acuity will start to get sharpened. You'll get intuition, okay, to go here, to go there. I remember when I was in Snooks a couple of years ago, I was just like looking at merchandise, right? Grocery shopping. All of a sudden, I was pulled to look at the entrance door. People coming into the store. When I turned and looked, I had this guy that had the look of a mass killer. I mean, he had just so much anger in him. And I'm saying, oh, this is why he brought a different energy into that store. My intuition told me, okay, lock in on this guy, watch him, okay? So that's what the intuition do, and it will improve as you start to trust it. But a lot of people, they mistrust it, okay? They say, oh, I'm not sure because it doesn't make, it's illogical. Why should I do this? Why should I do that? They're dependent on their intuition to make sense. It's not designed to make sense. It's designed to guide you. It's your non-physical self guiding your physical self. Okay, that's another way to look at it. But we always know the masters do this. We always hear the stories of the masters coming over here and say, you know what? Something tells me I have to go to St. Louis for this meeting. I don't have the funds for the airfare, but I'm going to meditate on it. Then the next day or something, somebody say, oh, you need a couple of hundred. You say, I heard about this trip you're going to make. Here, you can borrow this for me. Okay, he gets over here. He lands in Los Angeles, right? He has no money, or very little, to get from Los Angeles to St. Louis. And lo and behold, people will come and help him. And he ends up knowing exactly where he's supposed to be. So he has that faith because his intuition has guided him. You go here, boom, you'll get help. You go here, you get help. I had a very remarkable experience with it many years ago where I was working at a seminar. The seminar was in South County. It was at Holiday Inn. And I had to catch a very remote bus schedule to get there. It was about a 45-minute bus schedule. If I was not there, the next run would be, let's say, an hour or so after, which would make me late. I go there. As soon as I get to the block where the bus is coming, it starts to leave. I'm chasing the bus because that's my bus. If I don't catch it, I'm going to be an hour late. All of a sudden, a car pulls up beside me. They say, oh, man, you want this bus? Get in. And I'm thinking, what? So I get in, and sure enough, he chases the bus down. That never happens in the city.
Oh, wow.
Nobody trusts each other like that. And I'm saying, whoa, But that's the guidance that happens when you're doing the work. Your consciousness spreads out. it sends like what you would call an emergency alert. I need help. And if your intention is to help people, then that help will come. And I know people have many, some of you may have the same kind of story. It makes no sense what happened, but something saves you at the last minute. But there's a reason for that, though, because see, we are part of the space around us. Energetically, we're connected. That means our thought has an influence on everything around us. This is why many of the masters would always say, be careful what you think, be careful what you speak, be careful what you do. And people say, well, I didn't do it, I didn't say it, but you thought it. He says, well, you still send it out there. It's going to come back to you because you created it. See? So the masters knew that, you know, it matter. So this is a way for us to train this capacity. So again, in the GPE school, we just term it in a way that's convenient. We call it the voice of silence. Okay, the VOS, the voice of silence. Now, the voice of silence can also be, like Ken mentioned in looking at, you know, Stephen Greer, he might have brought up a certain principle or a concept or an idea. And Ken, you may have also been able to get something from that, but it may not manifest at the time to expand on his idea. You see, this is why we said knowledge, people try to hoard knowledge. There's no such thing as ownership of knowledge. Okay. There's also no such thing as ownership of material. Everything is one. But we need that in terms of human society, understand that part. But in the spiritual realm, in the energetic realm, nothing belongs to anyone, but we all have access to it. And the principle one states, okay, if you can access this, whether it's energy, whether it's material, always know to use it for its highest purpose. Don't use it to take advantage of people. Don't use it to dominate people. Don't use it for excessive material gain. If you gain something excessively, then many of the masters will tell you, well, okay, you gain this, you become, you know, you got a rich return. Give a portion to that to help people who don't have it. So that way you maintain the balance. Right now we know that, you know, we have such an imbalance in the, you know, in this world because people are so motivated by greed and selfishness. And this is what a lot of the things we're suffering with that now, topically in terms of the economy of the US, you know, the rich gets richer and the poor get poor. And they play this really ingenious game, but it's really getting exposed now. It used to be to divide the masses, they would tell you, okay, you're the middle income guy, your enemy is the poor guy. So they would actually invest in means of getting the middle fighting the lower. And while you're fighting with each other, while the middle is fighting the lower, then they get away with all kinds of schemes. But now that's breaking apart. People said, oh no, I recognize where the problem is. The problem is with you. You're ordering and controlling everything. So now they're waking up saying, okay, we want a fair system. We want a more equitable system. I will no longer buy into this propaganda that my enemy is the poor guy, okay? Whether it's in racial terms or whether it's in class terms, okay? So I'm glad to see people are waking up. But believe it or not, when you're sending energy, when you're activating and sending energy around the world, you are contributing to that awakening. Even if you're sitting at home in an armchair and you're sending energy to different states, to different individuals, different hospitals, you have no limitation. You are actually contributing to the awakening of everyone across the globe. This is why it's very important, this particular practice. Not also this practice, but people are contributing. But when it all comes down, we need a means of actually influencing a positive outcome. So we're just using this method, which could be a combination of many methods. Methods didn't come before the GPE or universal energy you wouldn't have a way of teaching people. So everyone has contributed, but we're just at the stage right now because it's either do or die, okay, in terms of Earth, okay? We either get our stuff together right, okay, and look out for each other as it was designed for us to do originally, or we're going to implode, okay? And that's evident. You know, we can't keep poisoning the Mother Earth and expect to get good food. It's really weird. You know, we don't look at the sources. We can't continue to have diseases popping up out of everywhere. If you look at TV, the advertisements for medication is unbelievable. They're no longer silent about the side effects. They will tell you, all right, do this, but they tell you one of the side effects is possible death. So you're saying, is this worth?
Hey, Stan, one thing, well, two things actually. I know Nikki chimed in. Just so you guys know, do you guys have the chat feature on the side? Can you see it on your screen? Do you see the chat feature on the side where you can type the chat? Ray, you see yours?
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking Ray if she does, if she can see it, because she's muted, so I can't hear if she's talking. She's hearing me though, so she's okay. She's got it. Just so you know, that way, instead of interrupting, sometimes I'll just send you guys or individually, or you Stan, if I want to have you be able to read it for a second and answer something. Then I don't have to, and we don't have to interrupt each other as much. It'll let you flow better. But one thing I wanted to, oh man, what was it? Oh, okay. So, how many of you guys ever look at stuff on Gaia TV channel?
I used to. It's been a while. My mom has it.
Okay. I wanted to mention this, Dan, because you just reminded me. This might be good. You might like this. There's a group through there that's organizing huge meditate. There was just one. I don't know exactly when it happened. They're just now talking about it, but 10,000 people around the world
Mm,
at the same time. That's pretty significant.
yeah.
So you just made me think about if we can make a connection with those folks. It's actually a lot of different types of groups. It's a lot of different. Uh, Ray, have you seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Um, if I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if you could run this group connected to one of their events? It just hit me like that'd be interesting.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah, I
about the
think,
power of mega
yeah,
antenna, that many people together.
yeah. I had a guy, a UE student, actually put an app on my phone. I don't know if the app is still active or not. Where it is, okay.
For a
Uh,
group, a specific group?
this was a global group of meditation. I don't know if it's
Okay.
the same one. I don't know if it's the same that you're mentioning, Ken, but yeah, we're doing pretty much the same thing. So
That's
if
something
each
we
one
should
of us
all look
get,
at. That's something we should all look at and figure out.
yeah, individually, okay.
That
Yeah,
might be
maybe
another
some,
way to get more people interested too, you know.
yeah, yeah. I think once we put our energy in there and start participating, we'll find out who's really organizing it, and then we can introduce the GPE method to them, and we can go in, okay.
Yeah,
But it's a beautiful thing because the GPE is just one of many modalities.
sure.
Okay, the bottom line is that a person is sincere and they actually want to contribute to making a change without any self benefit. That's the bottom line. So this is why even I don't criticize fundamental Christianity. If they believe if they believe in Christ is true in their heart, then they will get the feedback. It's kind of like, how do you lock into this system? You can't lock in with any BS, because you can't BS the higher deities or the universe. You can't fool it,
Sure, sure.
because if you fool it, you're just giving yourself a slap back, because it's really a part of you that you're trying to fool, a higher part of you that you're trying to fool, right? So if you come into anything like this, it's good you mentioned that, Ken. So yeah, give us a link if you find a link to this, share it with us,
Yeah.
and we'll start participating. And then if it's right, if it's proper for us, if it's meant to happen by fate and destiny, we'll be led to who's the major organizer, and they may mention, okay, good, you guys have been doing this, and this is the part of this history and whatever, and we can branch it out. But I
You know
think,
what else? You know what else is hitting me on that too is even if that doesn't happen formally, still being a part of it and still sending together,
exactly, yeah, that's it. That's
it's
why we
still
should
gonna
just
go, right?
participate. Yeah, we participate first. Don't be because the thing is that we want from a human's perspective. But whenever we give it up, and which is the old saying, let go and let God, we give it up to the universe. We just contribute honestly and sincerely. And if
Hmm.
it's meant to be, then we could, connect. If not, like I say, we'll still get the same effect though.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we understand. Ken, too, keep me abreast of time. How much time we have?
Yeah. How much we were trying even before I got the beefed up paid version of Zoom here, and then they had cut the time back on us last time, right? So Rob jumped in, helped us out through his slew one, and we did the part two to continue. But I think we were trying to keep this down to no more than an hour,
Okay.
right? So, we start losing people if it goes too long. So does that still sound about okay to you? Because I'm
So
keeping time
what,
otherwise.
what time
Which
do we
means if we're
start?
doing that, we still got 20 more minutes and we'd be at
Okay,
about
that's fine.
right about an
Yeah.
hour.
Okay. Okay.
So is that okay with everybody? Is that okay with you?
Okay, I can't really overemphasize how it's important for you guys. You see how Ken, he's been at this for a very long time. He's been a practitioner for many, many years, and he asks questions. Never feel like it's a dumb question because Master Dan used to have a funny approach. He would come to a meeting, maybe 60 or 70 people there, and the first thing that would come out of his mouth, he says, okay, do you have any questions? If no one says anything, he said, well, I might as well leave. Okay, because he
Okay.
can't teach you. So when you have questions, you're opening up the door.
I do
Your
have
way
a
of
question.
learning. Yeah. Go ahead.
And I was just thinking that it's a silly question. When I send to my list of people or when I send to a world issue, when I feel it start sending, my eyes start blinking rapidly. Have you ever heard of that happening, or is that just a me thing?
No, it
I mean,
happens.
like they start fluttering and then they stop when it's done.
Yeah.
So that okay.
Yeah, that's normal. We had one fellow who, when he transferred energy, he would have like a dramatic eye shift. He tried to demonstrate it for us, but it looked kind of weird. It looked like he would just
Yeah.
open his eye,
Yes.
and it would only happen when he transferred energy. No,
Yeah.
that's an energetic effect of the vibrations of the energy coming in to your
Okay.
nervous system.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. But that's a good point to bring up, though, Nikki. I was going to mention that because see, the more you ask and you get feedback, when you become an instructor yourself and your students ask, well, you have the background to be able to respond to them. Okay.
Right.
So that's why I never feel like there's a stupid question. The most stupid question I've ever witnessed was when the master gave a very profound answer. A student actually asked him, can I change a person into a frog with universal energy? Can you imagine? Okay.
Okay.
Master's,
Yeah.
Master's response to this was that if you try to do that, you'll become a frog first.
Mhm.
Because he was teaching a principle. You can't go outside the principle and use this to in any negative way to somebody else because you're doing it to yourself first. You see. So even though somebody laughed at that question, how ridiculous of a question, but he did teach a very important, you know, principle. What you do to others, you're doing to yourself. So if I wish you illness, I will get ill first with this energy because we're working at a higher frequency. It does not accept negativity. The frequency that we're bringing into our body is at the highest frequency. This is why it's referred to as energy of the creation, the energy of creation, excuse me, energy of creation. It's what God used to create the energy as well as to create the universe, as well as to maintain the universe. You cannot use this for any negative. Negative comes apart when we violate the principle of one. We become greedy and selfish. We want our own needs met. Okay. This is when we upset the balance. Okay? But if you have a majority of people who are abiding by the principle of one, then you will eventually have more harmony. Now, many people will say, well, I try to be a good person. I try to treat people well. How come these bad things keep happening to me? Okay. There's one particular very profound answer to that question. Just because you're a good person, it doesn't mean that you will not experience a bad event. But that bad event, if you turn it around and you connect that to the spiritual energy, the creation of the universe, which is the energy of God, then that bad event that happened to you is your opportunity to spiritually grow. Because it won't be you that solve the question. When that bad event happens, you automatically go to the highest out of humility. And that's when that problem will be solved. So these negative things are actually here designed on earth to actually help us to spiritually grow. If things happen, I remember some people say, well, this is the problem of the earth. It's just so much suffering and negativity. Okay. But it's because we do not accept the creation of the universe. We do not accept the energy of God. Okay. We do not accept the spirituality that the earth was created with. Once we accept that and put it into our system, then we will definitely encounter challenges, negative events, sickness or whatever. But this meant to help us grow. And you'll find yourself, once you overcome one obstacle, the next one, you'll find yourself becoming stronger and wiser. Someone come at you and say, I used to scream at you with so much anger last year. Now when I do it, you just smile at me. What's the difference? Because you've grown through that adversity. So only through that adversity. And people will say, well, if the world was just nice, everybody would be good. in the curriculum that God designed the earth, He designed it for us to learn, become spiritual through the suffering, to overcome the suffering. It is a hard road. It is difficult, but it has a great payoff. Now, in terms of the galaxies, I've heard that those souls who have graduated from the school or the University of Earth are highly regarded around the galaxy because they know, oh, you guys graduated the Earth curriculum? Okay, you have a very high spiritual diploma. You can help our planet. But if you don't actually go through adversity yourself, how can you help others? Okay? But the thing that helps you is to always turn to the Creator, always turn to the universe, because the universe will provide the energy, the more that you persist. Now, it's something that we have to be mindful of when we have these issues, these problems. Um, Train had the most remarkable, and you guys will get to meet him once, but I'll just mention his story very briefly. When he was very high in the computer field, he was very proud of the fact that he needed no outside help to help him to become a computer analyst, a computer programmer. He had his career mapped out in front of him. He had this fiance that they were married. One day they actually had, this fatal accident where, a car runs in front of him. His fiance was immediately killed. She died at the impact. His head actually almost embedded into the windshield itself. He had a spiritual vision whereby he saw his fiance. He wanted to go with her, and she looked at him and says, "You cannot go with me. Stay where you're at." Okay? And he went through a lot of mourning. He used to go to a gravesite, pray, and his mother prayed for him and says, "My son needs help now because he's becoming too depressed." And that's what led him to the teaching of universal energy. It could have led him to many spiritual teachings, but just by fate and this destiny, he overcame and he was led to that spiritual practice. That gave him the foresight and the energy to persist. But now he understands the level of suffering. Now he understands spiritual, evolution. She did not die. She merely exited her physical form. And when he tried to follow her, she told him, "No, you cannot follow me because you don't belong to where I'm going. No, you stay here." And we hear this story. It's quite a common theme in a lot of people that have out of body and they go to heaven, they meet Jesus and they want to stay there, right? And just says, "No, your time is not ended yet. You still have work to do." And they say they really hate coming back into their physical body, but they understand it's part of their fate, it's part of their destiny to complete their work here on earth before they evolve to the spiritual state.
So what do you get? What do you get on this? So there seems to be great consensus on something you just said about we're making this shift, right? This giant whole planet energetic shift. And the consensus that I'm referring to is kind of like what you said, that if you're focused on, let's keep it simple. Let's just say if you're focused on being part of that positive shift into the new era, you're opening pathways to receive all kinds of help, for one thing, from your own entity and your guides, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But apparently you're tuning in with what everybody's referring to as the 5D energy coming in to over time here to take us out of this 3D, three-dimensional. So where I'm going with this is take a step back to what you said also about this is a training ground, and not all, let's just say, souls choose to come through this crazy path. And so what I also hear is some folks who can't go there, they're just not ready yet. They don't want to. That they can apparently on some level choose to stay anchored in the 3D reality and continue to keep going down that path of anger and fear and negativity and suffering, and then others who are choosing a more ascended path can get there. So the part that's a little confusing to me is some of these folks seem to suggest that there will be a full 5D shift, and then when that happens, that there is no longer a 3D version. And others seem to suggest that that's always there if people choose to stay there. So I guess I'm turning this into a question is, what's your take on that? Do you think there's eventually a full 5D or there remains a split? What are you getting on that?
Okay, this is up to metaphysical speculation primarily,
Hmm.
because anything I can say on this will be from my interpretation.
Yeah.
That would be different from other people that's engaged in this question. But that's an excellent question. But the way I would direct to look at it is that everyone has a particular energy signature. If your vibrational rate is low enough, you will actually create the reality that you need to experience.
Hmm. Hmm.
So let's say, we have 7 billion people on the planet, and let's say 5 billion ascends, and the other 2 billion wants to stay here. They just resist for whatever. Okay?
Uh-huh.
So their energy will coalesce, will come together, and they will recreate the environment that they need in order to grow. But they will always need a physical environment in order to grow, though. See? So I don't really, you know, see the third dimension actually evaporating, going over, or going out of existence, because those souls who are vibrating at that level, they have to create a reality that they can identify with and they can work through.
You know what? You just reminded me that, and that echoed through the Seth material going way back to the same idea, right? That it's group focused energy that creates the physical reality, which is really a camouflage system in the first place. It's not really real. It's something we've created for this specific kinds of lessons that you can learn in a more dense environment. So that makes complete sense when you say it that way. That yeah, they'll create that separately as a group to do those lessons there. I guess. Yeah.
Yes. Now, this is a good question because it brings up a very profound lesson. I'm going to share a download that I got about a year ago pertaining to this exact question.
Hmm.
Because those souls who are alive on Earth now are actually witnessing the transformation. We have a lot of higher energy coming into the Earth. That's causing like what they call a catalytic effect of the negative coming out. The
Okay.
more
Yeah. Yeah.
positive come in, it starts to purge and clean the negative.
Yeah.
These
Okay.
souls, even though they're resistant, they are witnessing because they can't escape the energy. Even though they may not agree with it, you can't. If you're breathing, you're getting the energy,
Mhm.
bottom line. So when they resist and they go to the third dimension, they won't stay there that long. See? Because
Okay.
they would retain that memory of the higher light coming in. So instead of staying there for, let's say, a full lifetime or 2 lifetimes, it may be for a half a lifetime, maybe 30 years or one full lifetime. So it will shorten the time that they need to go back because they remember all the horrors of war. What's the purpose of it? Look at all the countries that we blew up. We have to rebuild the country, the economy, help it. So it keeps us behind.
Yeah. It's absurd. Yeah.
Yeah, so they'll realize that because they said, well, you know what? It makes sense to me now, even though they're in a third dimensional reality. They said, well, I see through this now. Like you said, a camouflage system. So I see through the camouflage. The quicker I can get out of here, the better. See, they're not going to identify with it because they see the fallacy. They see the camouflage. They see yeah. So
Yeah.
they're going to,
So like you said, use the word catalyst. So by them observing, even if they're not ready to participate, they're still the energy is still coming through. So they're still seeing it happening. They're just not ready to go there yet. So oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah. And I mean, on a pure just feeling tone level, that makes complete sense.
yeah, yeah. And I take no credit. Like I said, this was a download because I had the same question. That was a download given to me because, and this is the other thing about the voice of silence. When you feel like you need to meditate, meditate.
Yeah.
That's your higher self telling you, we got something for you.
No,
And
man, I'm with you on that. Yeah, that's
yeah, no. So that's why we always share. It's never like, oh, I got this download, I got more knowledge than you. That's the old school of thinking. I have this knowledge. Now you give me what you could have. So we put our knowledge together. But that was a very wonderful explanation that was given to me. It says, don't worry about them. Because the love that's coming in is so pure and so high of frequency that even when they take that to the other dimension, it will stay with them. See, and they will remember the fact, okay, why did we do this? Why did we steal? Why do we, manage illnesses instead of heal people? Why do we have so much greed and selfishness? It'll come back to them. In other words, their soul would be sort of like in a turmoil. One way want to go one way, and the other way. So the thing is, and they have to extend. But a lot of people, and Nikki, I know you identify with this. A lot of other uh, alien species like the lichens, the Andromedas, the Arcturians, Palladians, they're actually paying a lot of attention. Not only that, but they're actually feeding information to us,
Yeah.
big time. Because
Yeah.
what happens here on Earth actually will have a much broader effect in terms of the galaxy that we live in, maybe even beyond that. So they're paying a lot of attention. So many, downloads are coming, information is coming to help our soul do the work that we need to do. Okay. Um, Now, following up with the VOS, I like to end it with what we call the um, G, GVS, which is short for the hand of God. Okay. The God's voice of silence, which is the hand of God. I'll give you a beautiful story related to that because I think the story illustrates more than any explanation. There was a religious person one day that really wanted to, he was stricken by Christ and the teaching of Christ. And he says, Lord, give me a purpose, give me a mission to do, because I know how much suffering and sadness in the world. Give me something to do. Send me on a task so I can help. I can be an instrument for goodness. Okay, so he gets a message, go to a grocery store, buy a gallon of milk. Okay, so he doesn't hesitate. He go get the gallon. And he says, what do I do with this gallon? I don't need this. He says, well, just continue to drive. So he drives through, the neighborhood, and it's kind of a rundown neighborhood. And if his intuition just tell him, stop here. He stops and he says, go to this house. Now he's listening, not only seeing the house, but he's hearing a lot of commotion from the house. His ego is saying, I don't want to go and knock on this door when you're having this kind of a violent argument going on. But again, he trusts it. He gets out the car, walks up, knocks on the door, and a woman opens the door and says, oh my God, is that for me? He's holding says, yeah, I need the milk for my babies. This is what we were arguing about. And he walks away just totally perplexed. Said, what on earth just happened? I just trusted in the information given to me and I followed the instructions. And with that, he felt so good is that, he helped her, feed her children or whatever. But this can happen in many scenarios. What happened to me one time, again, this is actually where you become the hand of God. Rather than just sending energy to another extension, is that where you physically are there carrying out the work. In our neighborhood, Ken is, understands this South Side neighborhood, there's a lot of beggars when we were there. So it was nothing to go from one out of the office up the street, okay, for whatever, and get hit upon by anybody. Get extra change, it's okay, it's coming. And you're gonna end up saying no more than yes anyway. But there's one day I'm walking down the street and the person says, got any change, whatever. And I just said no out the mouth. And I kept walking. I got about 6 feet from this person. Something tells me to turn around and go back and give him some change. I don't know where this message came from. I go out and I give the guy 50 cents. It may have been $1. And then, the person says, thank you. And I'm starting to walk away. But something tells me to turn back. I turn back and look at this person. And I swear to you guys, his eyes were not human. He gave me the look of perhaps an angel or another being. And he was like, telling me, pass the test, you listen to you, the spirit. And he kind of nodded. I never got that kind of look from an everyday person on the street. But I swear, when I looked at his eyes, he had a look of divine purpose. And I didn't get that message right away. I didn't understand it, but later on it came to me and says, okay, he smiled at me because he said, oh, good that you listen to your soul. Okay. So it's not the fact that I gave him money, it's the fact that I, gave anything, even my time, because there's a time to give. So with the GPE, you start to develop that awareness of the empty space around us that connects everybody. Okay, so we refer to this as a voice of silence with ourselves, works with other people, and also being able to carry that out with further action. There were times that we were escorting Master Deng had bodyguards. Master was only about 5'7" or 5'8", I think 5'7". He was relatively short. His bodyguards were like 6'2", 6'3". They're escorting him out of the building, right? We have maybe 800 people in this auditorium. When he exits, people just stand up and they wave at him or whatever, clap for it. Very happy. And he just stops in the middle of this aisle. And the bodyguards are saying, well, we need to escort you out, And they said, why did he stop? He goes into the middle of the aisle, and there's a handicapped child sitting in a wheelchair. Now they're thinking there is no way on earth he could have saw this child. For one thing, everybody is standing up shielding the child. Another thing, he's short. They couldn't even see the child. But he just, something told him to stop. He goes into the aisle and he meets this little boy in a wheelchair. He naturally talks to him a little bit, give him a hands-on healing, and he walks away. But little things like that can happen to any one of us, where something just tells you, go to this person. This person may need a kind word. You may need some camaraderie, share your heart, in many other situations. These are the things where it's good for us to get together and we share these stories with each other. Okay, we're probably coming upon the end. Okay.
Yeah.
And Ken, I'd just like to mention, since we have a few people that did not show up, maybe a month from today, we'll just have maybe a contingency on another get together. See if everyone's interested.
Yeah, you want to go ahead and wrap this, and then we can still keep going, but the official recording will be done.
Okay, let's do a
We
short
can talk to
meditation.
10 more.
Yeah, let's do a short meditation and then we'll
Okay.
end. Okay?
All right.
Okay, ready? Clear your mind and begin. Okay, finish.
Okay, guys. For those of you who will be joining us, but joining us after this gets up on YouTube, we hope you got something here and enjoyed this. And Stan had just mentioned that we're going to try to push out roughly a month from now, whatever that date is. Anybody got a calendar right in front of me here? I can get one. We should probably go ahead and set it while we're still on here for a second, so folks see this on YouTube, they'll know. How about this on the Sunday time's good, right? Sunday as far as the day, Nikki, yeah. I know Ray left, but then she technically came back, but I don't see her there. So, well, I'll put it. Oh, there she is. She's there. Okay, she is there. All right.
Yeah, he's good.
Sunday's good. Okay, cool. Let me look at the.
1 month would be Mother's Day.
Oh,
So
that's
either
not a
the
good
4th
idea.
or the 18th.
So you guys don't want it on Mother's Day, do you? I don't think.
No, probably not. I need to.
How about the one? What do you think about the very next one, which would be the 25th? That might be Memorial Day weekend, which I don't care if you guys don't.
Oh no, Mother's Day is the 11th. So the next one would be May 18th.
Okay. So is that good, everybody?
Mm-hmm.
That works for me.
Yeah, that's good. Is that Memorial Day?
No, the 18th would not be. Memorial Day is probably the 25th.
Okay.
So we're talking May 18th then. Okay, same time, 6:30.
Yeah.
It's 6:30.
Okay. All right, so for this kind of stuff, this is the kind of stuff that hold on a minute. That would be better to use chat notes for, and then everybody watching this doesn't have to. Sunday, May 18th. Okay. Whoops, wrong. Yeah, okay, so 6:30 Sunday, May 18th, next session. So since this is still recording, then I'll just say, so folks that see this, like maybe Leah, I don't know if Leah joined or not. I'd send her the link. She may see this after the fact. Rob Wood will too. Then they'll know when we're having this, and then they should let us know, and we can send the link, and then maybe some other folks just randomly on YouTube will see this, and then they can contact me through the YouTube, through the email or whatever, and then I can add them and send the link to them as well. So hopefully we'll pick up some people we don't even know yet by next time.
Well, that's an interesting way to do it, Ken, because I was thinking of the same thing. Since we already have the first session already on YouTube,
Uh-huh.
the only thing that they would need in person is the energy transfer, the activation. because the instructions were given, in the first one. So anyone that will come in that's new, if they don't have the time to sit through a whole session, what they can do is receive the activation, the intuitive potential activation online, alive.
You mean
Then
through
they
the
can
first
go-
video?
Yeah, and they can go to the video
Okay.
and get the technique.
Oh, that's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I'll do that. I'm gonna go ahead then and okay, guys, this will be the official end, but hang out if you can for a couple minutes here. Let me okay, for everybody else out there who sees this, this will get a little smoother and a little smoother as we go, and we all hope you got something from it, and we hope that you'll join us next time.